It's Pete General, Skanks to Rap Martyr.
Bambi, what up?
Fuck out my face, I'm flying in outer space. We giving them fine wine, you niggas is in a haste. Disappointing the fans, compromising your brands. Following clown niggas just to be part of the band. I'm playing my own hand or with the Bangkok fan. Invest double-digit grams, that's a part of the plans. But on the other hand, everything's fine. No smoking that white wine, no ducking the one times though. You know they move sticky. Try and jam you on some shit that's fishy. Give you 1 to 3 and ship you out the city. It's a given, I changed my algorithm. I'm taking different steps and approach to snatch this chicken.
Give me that.
Vanilla doobies, different ill color newbies. Music is trash from a lot of newbies, for real. But this that vineyard flow. Sit back and unwind, pour some wine, pop you a cork, enjoy this fine wine.
Great Hermitage needs to have the power and the finesse, the structure, the tight tannins, but also the softness. It needs the bones and the flesh. In the aroma, it's the same. You need some ripeness, but you don't need to be overripe. You need to be very defined. Very distinctive style, finesse and elegance.
Repeatedly indulgent and fly shit, I'm a predicate. I mean this shit don't define me, it's just the etiquette. Conducting oneself by a different code. When it's time to go, you switch modes like switching clothes. That's how it go. Building lobby, attire, flyer. Then a lot of dudes, they switch the rules. Not paying dues is basically old news. I hold my glass by the stem and then I swirl it. Grab a Dutch, then twirl it and think how cold the world get. Pardon my jargon, these niggas be fraud. Disregarded, but the hardest as far as an artist, let's be honest. There ain't no self-doubt here, I'm sticking to this mission. I'm out here catching that wreck, man, fuck your recognition. Bars are exhibition, take you on an expedition. No beginner kitchen, everything limited edition. It's like a one-on-one bars, baby, I got a ton. See, I ain't just begun, who's seeing me? I don't see none. It's done. I hide your gun with 100 drums, running through the slums, chasing fun.
Yeah, we back.
Yes, sir.
Nobody Put Us On, episode 66.
Yep.
I'm glad I'm here. We are here with a wonderful guest today, the lovely Miss Jazz Young. Miss Jazz Young has been in the game for a long time. Not only has she been in the game, she's fought professor too. So we got some questions for her too, by the way. You know what I mean? So, and it's an honor to have you here. By the way, I was so quiet, but I just want to let you know. I've been waiting for you to come on for a while because he's been talking about you.
Oh my God, so sweet.
From the first season. So I was like, I can't wait till you come on. So now you're here, and I'm glad that you're here. It's an honor to have you here.
More hip-hop royalties in the building.
And on top of that, it's Women's History Month.
Right,
yes.
right.
We're keeping it going. You know what I mean? You're a second guest.
Second female.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
want to give you a shout out. Thank you for coming. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're good. All right, we're good. Yeah, and you have a guest with you, CraigO.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to CraigO.
Yes, my
You know what I
brother,
mean?
my blood brother.
You know what I mean? So,
Right? Same mother, same father. Same mother, same father, brother, for sure. Thank you so much for having me. I'm hyped to be here.
I'm honored.
I'm hyped to be here. Honored to be here. Shout out to my beautiful son Jackson, who's watching on YouTube right now.
Shout out to Jackson.
Shout out to Jack.
Mommy be home soon. Don't worry.
But I really want to say, it's a pleasure. Like I said, it's a pleasure having you here. And you're from the hometown too. So we just found out.
South Jamaica, Queens. Yes.
Yeah, Queens.
Wow, you never knew that?
Never knew
Big
that.
Queens.
Big Queens.
Get the
Definitely.
money.
That's why we were so cool. You know what I'm saying? It was a Queens thing.
Yeah, it is a Queens thing. Originally from South Jamaica, Queens. We grew up Merrick and 108.
Okay.
We the neighborhood kids. Everybody, our house was the house that everybody was at. Merrick 108. The whole time growing up, you ask anybody, American 108 around there, 109 Liberty, like they know all of us.
Yeah.
Not for the music, because we that, we're those, hometown people.
Right.
I'll say that our house was the hangout for sure.
That's dope.
Yep.
That's dope.
So from Queens.
But so far, man, we didn't even introduce ourselves. That's how real it is. I ain't gonna front. That's how I really want to. I really want to get into this. That's how real it is.
Let's go. I'm honored to be here with you, kings.
But I just want to know. So, where did you start? Like, where did this start? Did you like? I want to know the beginning. Where did your journey begin? Because you are a professor as well as you've been in the game. Yep. With many different names. I'll get into that, but. Where did you start?
Crazy. A full professor. Not some people be like, oh, you a lecturer or you like to speak. No, I'm a full professor with a degree. So I will go back. I will go back. But thank you guys so much for having me. The Nobody Put You On podcast. Yes, I'm honored to be here. And like I said, I taught FA, but I definitely. So how did I start? I tell this story a lot, and I feel like the more I tell the story, the more people really, really, really want to hear it, which is crazy to me, which is super duper crazy. But I think that this is my real brother, same mother, same father, right? But we grew up in a house, just loved music, right? And Fact. My father, he actually. I saw pictures of myself back 1-2 years old with headphones on, just loving all type of music. Everything, just the old, R&B. But I always had an affinity for music, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I remember when I was this is a true story, I did not make this up. I remember when I was in the 5th grade, I went to PS 116. You guys know what that is? Yes. And I remember we had career day, right? And the story that I remember was that, everybody was attracted to the doctor, the lawyer, and they had a band. It was this band, and I forget the name of the band to this day. But what happened was, I just remember being in their face. They had a song back then that everybody sampled, until now. Music blows my mind. It blows it all the time. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, at 10 years old, right? And there were no other role models for people like me and people like us in the industry, right? So I just had that in my heart, the whole time, right? And so when I went to Hillcrest. Big shout out to Queen. Big Queen!
Okay. I know about Hillcrest.
You know about
Hillcrest? Because I used to go to PS 86.
Oh!
And I was right next to Hillcrest.
Yes.
My barber's across the street, Freddie.
Oh,
yeah. Freddie used to
I've been going to Freddie since I was 5
That's
years old.
crazy.
All the animals, the hangout.
Insane. Yep. So I said I was gonna do this interview on a 9. When I go, I just be getting so hyped and excited. If you ever saw any of my interviews, but I definitely want to have a calmer conversation tonight, right? Because I go crazy and then So basically, when I went to Hillcrest, I just felt something about the music industry that I just, loved. And I knew that I wasn't, I'm not a rapper. I could spit a hot 16 though.
I believe 16. It. You sound like you got delivery.
But I'm not a rapper. I'm not a singer, right? But I was just what am I going to do? So then I realized that, there was things that you could do behind the scenes and behind the camera, right? Yes. And so I ended up, if they have talent shows. Yeah. I remember volunteering to be the stage manager for the talent shows, right? And I remember the funniest time one time was that I called myself, so I watched a lot of TV, right? And I remember the funniest time was that I went to McDonald's and asked them to sponsor my green room. So that was down the hill. Yeah. And so I had a little green room for the high school students at Hillcrest. And I remember I had a row of cheeseburgers. And you remember how they brought it back now, but you know how they the orange shakes?
Yeah.
The orange juice.
Yes,
so I remember I asked them to borrow the orange. They donated it for me, so I had cheeseburgers and a big thing of orange juice, and I thought it was Cristal back then, right? Could you imagine?
Yeah.
And so that's how I kind of started the affinity for knowing that there's something behind the camera. And then, I'll say this: you saw the the Salt and Pepper movie recently.
Yes.
Did you guys see that?
I seen bits and pieces of it, but I seen.
Okay, so you know that they had a movie.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, there's a guy who's from Queens too. He's from Corona. His name is DJ Johnny Wishbone, right?
Okay.
You heard of DJ
he's
Johnny
in the
Wishbone.
movie, yeah.
So he was my very first client when I was in high school. I was managing Johnny Wishbone.
Wow.
He was the backup DJ for Spinderella. And like when Spinderella, like he would wait till she come and then spin for her. He was in that movie. He was in that video back then. Such and such want to be like Bob. Bob got it going on with no job. He was Bob in that. But back then, that was the biggest thing in the world.
Okay.
And a friend of ours, they used to dance for them as well. And Steve Azor, Herbie's brother, went to Hillcrest during my time. So I kind of just like, so my relationship with DJ Johnny Wishbone actually just got me all like, oh my God, I could do this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so it just kind of like rolls after that.
Dope, and glad you here. This is crazy. So, as far as like now, let me skip ahead. Now,
Okay.
The teaching, right? What when you met Fa, what year was this? What year did you have Fa as a student? Because I want
so more recent, like 2000.
14.
14, 15, around there, yeah. Which was insane. So the story, and we can go back to the beginning at some point, back. Yeah, after that, Howard. But I'll tell the story that
we can talk about that.
There's a lady that I met. She since passed away, but she just kept saying, "Yo, your background, like I was working at The Source magazine.
Okay.
I was the VP of everything, the VP of operations and marketing for The Source, and I learned a lesson about working for friends.
Yeah. Never.
Again. But she kept saying to me about, even though I love Londell, I love you like a brother, but you can never work for friends, right?
Yeah.
For friends,
Okay.
For friends, you can work with your friends,
I'll get it,
but you cannot work for your friends. And I worked for Londell, right? Yeah. Learning experience, love him, Londell, I love you, but at the same time, a lesson learned. But what happened was I was working at The Source. A young lady said, your personality, like you should teach, like you have a master's degree, and I was just like, I don't know, but she wanted me to teach the kids, and I don't have the temperament for kids, right? I don't. I love kids. I love you, Jackson. I love my children.
That's
right?
crazy because I would think
you would think that I do.
Yeah.
I don't have the temperament to teach kids. I mess with kids all day. Like I love kids. I have a 10-year-old named Jackson. I have a 16-year-old son named Cisco, Big Cisco, Clutch Up Cisco. I have 4 nephews. My brother Craig has 2 sons, Craig Jr. and Tylen. But at the end of the day, like I got temperament for kids, but I don't got temperament for kids, right? So fast forward to I'm at The Source. We're doing covers like during I was there, Kim Osario had come back, and we were doing covers like the DJ Khaled cover. There was if I remember, there was a DJ Khaled. There was a T.I. cover, a bunch of covers we were doing during that time. And basically, a friend of mine, his name is Kareem, Tokyo Kareem. He's a little known in this, in this circuit as well. But I had just met him. My friend Light, who manages a tribe called Quest, called me, was like, I want you to meet this dude. You should meet this dude, right? So when when the dude comes up to The Source, we have, we're family type meeting, and he was just like, yo, you're Jazz? Like, you're bugging. Like, you got a master's degree and you sitting up here in The Source? Like, literally just like that. So come to find out, he is, and I was spending like 13, 14, 20-hour days at The Source, right?
Wow.
And this was when my son, because, we printed, we had to do everything. This was when my son, who's 10, was like 4. Right? And so, 3 and 4. So I'm like, okay. So he was just like, you're Jazz, like, you're bugging. Like, I heard something about you. Like, you're a legend in this music industry. Like, you really sitting up here, like, really? He's like, you should teach. Like, and I was just like, okay. So come to find out, this guy, Tokyo Kareem, who's like a family to us now, is like this black dude from Harlem that went to Japan originally. He knows full Japanese. Like, he really speaks full Japanese. Like, so Rihanna had took him on the tour. Like, so if you're going to Japan and you're a hip-hop artist, you're going to call him to translate. Because you want a black dude to make sure your money's straight. Crazy.
That's true.
Craziest story ever. He's so dope. He also lived in Dubai. Crazy. So I come to find out he was an adjunct professor at MCNY in Manhattan, right? And so I'm like, okay, like he's not the first person that said that. And I was just like, all right. So then he ends up, kind of getting me this, this jump start at MCNY. But come to find out, the hiring lady at MCNY is best friends with Londell and went to law school with him.
Wow.
And so I just
Full
was
circle.
like, full circle, everything. That's why your reputation and relationships is important. And we can talk back about that.
Yes, definitely.
But I ended up getting one class teaching in the grad school, right, at MCNY. I still have that relationship to this day. Yeah. I taught, I can't, but yeah, I still have that relationship to this day, and I'll get back to it. But what happened was, I then found out, about IAR's, rebirth, quote unquote, rebirth program, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm a whole, like, I could do this with my eyes closed, because there's not really a lot of people, people have their own experiences in life, and people have come through the music industry, but my story is unique unto me.
Right.
Yes.
And what happens is, you can't really tell my story through my lens. Well, you can tell your story, but trust me, it ain't as fly as my story. Trust.
You know what I mean? It's
right?
different.
It's
different.
real different.
Yeah.
Real different, right? I got a whole resume, right? And so people be like, it's not. It's about, my resume is solid, B, and I'm a solid individual, right? And so I went and I did, an interview at IAR, and they're like, oh my gosh. And I love the students. I loved, where they were coming from. And, I say in my educational journey that people just stand out, right? There's some people that that's going to be dope in life. And Fa was definitely one of those students. Like, I had students that really still be, hitting me in my DM, still be, I love people. I do. We got a go mommy, I love you from
mathematics.
From YouTube. Hi, Jackson. Shout out to Jackson. But you should know that my son Jackson, who's 10 years old, already has his YouTube channel. He has a slime store. He gets busy with the slime. It's called Action Jack Slime Time. And follow my beautiful, and he's so cute. Like, my kids is cute, thank God. My kids is cute.
Love kids.
Love kids. And basically, he has a slime store, made his own logo. So during COVID, we kind of stopped because a lot of those slime events, that he liked were in person. But basically, we're going to go back out. But follow Action Jack Slime Time on Instagram. Follow my baby. And we're going to get together with the slime really soon now that the world is opening up. But now back to IAR. So, students or people that you meet is just fly or dope. I think so.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right.
You know what I mean?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think he's a cool dude.
Yeah, you was my favorite class, by the way. Favorite class, favorite professor,
Hey, if I could put this together, she's kind of like the reason why you're kind of like into this. Like,
because that was part of my journey going to IAR.
Yeah.
And it's kind of because I kind of from background with my family, I kind of knew the business, but I wanted to test myself as far as, everybody go to school and stuff. I wanted to, test myself, because I didn't think I was going to get through that, honestly. I didn't think I was going to graduate from there. And I graduated, and I learned a lot. And you actually, because that course, they shove a lot of things into one course. You know what I'm saying? I think you was marketing.
Marketing. Yeah. I taught marketing there. Yeah. I taught maybe PR, but what happens is they shove a lot of things, right? They do. They shove a lot of things.
So you get a realm of like everything, like everything in one. So it was cool. That's cool.
And then for me, I tried to, give the students that I've really liked more information, like anything I could do, connect the dots, whatever. But like I was saying, you do see students, and still now to this day, you do see students that super fly. Yeah. That like, I think you super fly, brother. I really think serious dude, not necessarily serious in terms of like, serious dude, but serious about his work and serious about, where he was going. And, people like that stand out. Like usually, I'm not going to tell you what I do with students on social media, but, I still stay in contact with Fa. Like we still follow each other. I think he's a stand-up dude, a solid dude. And I saw his progression and I think he's dope. And then, we did talk about, coming the first time, and then we just never kind of coordinated. And then he said last week he was just like, and I live in New Jersey. I don't live in Queens now. I live in New Jersey, right?
Okay.
And I'm like, I don't come out the house. I was just like, yo, I gotta come out the house. I'm like, for 5, I'm coming out the house.
Oh,
Facts.
man,
For
that's
5, I'm coming out the house.
Came out the house.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. I like that. I like hearing that. Man, I appreciate that you being here.
Facts. That's a
Appreciate
true
you coming
story.
out.
And I was just like, okay, it's 5, I'm coming out the house. I said, I've been trying to, do this show for a long time. And what happened was, I think, during COVID, I've done a lot of documentaries and a lot of interviews. But this is the first one that I've done since COVID in person.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everything
Okay.
has been via Zoom.
Yeah.
Everything has been, and they have some good technology,
Yeah,
right?
they do.
But just the feel of seeing y'all, I'm so hyped
That's
right
how
now.
we love it. We couldn't do the Zoom thing. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh my God.
that wasn't.
We wasn't into that. We like this.
I'm hyped. This is my first in-person interview since COVID, guys.
I
So I'm
appreciate
honored,
that.
and I've been on. I'm so zoomed out. I mean, I'm honored, because I've done some, and I'm honored that people just want to hear my story, right? I always say that when you're doing the work, you don't really realize that it's iconic shit, right? You don't realize that.
You don't.
I was just this little black girl from South Jamaica, Queens, and just now looking back, you see that it's really some iconic shit, and I'm
Right.
grateful to be called a music industry legend. I'm grateful. But at the end of the day, you don't really realize that when you're doing the work, So I'm honored that you guys want to hear my story. I'm honored that, people want to still hear my story. And I still have, so much more to do and so much more to give.
That's good. That's the good thing about it too. When you're still here and you got so much more to continue, and you did a lot. So you got a lot of names. It's all over the place. Like I'm a big Rock Nation Jay-Z guy. That's my guy. And I seen that you gave him a shout out around the what's that? The era of the Volume 1. Did you have something? Did you have something to do with that? Like the
A
marketing?
little something, maybe
something?
the marketing.
And I want to know, like, what's like, what was that like around that time? Because marketing today
It's very different.
very different in marketing then. So what was that like marketing around that time? Got
it. So I'll just go back and I'll just tell you from when I graduated from Hillcrest, right? So back then, remember, I'm not dating myself. I'm proud, to be in my 40s, right? I'm proud, right? But at the end of the day, my sons, they be like, "Mommy, how old are you exactly?" I'm like, if you can't count, don't ask me, right? When I left Hillcrest, we're in a non-digital world, right? Yeah. And I'm from South Jamaica, Queens, the first person in my family to go to college, right? And what happened was my mother went to business school. My father owned a bunch of, he worked for Con Edison. Our father worked for Con Edison, and he owned a lot of bodegas. That's why when they be like, oh, first black bodega.
Yeah.
My father been doing that back then,
He
right?
had over 8
Where at?
Yeah.
throughout Queens,
Rockaway
Wow.
Boulevard,
Really?
Liberty, what is that?
Merrick,
Rockaway Boulevard,
yeah.
Merrick. Over the time, even
know
in
all those-
Nostrand
yeah,
before.
yeah. Wow, no, all those
So
places.
basically, what happened was, I knew that I wanted to go to Howard, right? I
Right.
knew that I wanted to go to Howard, but back then, like I said, it was just like this digital world, non-digital world that you could only, it wasn't a phone, it wasn't, it wasn't internet, it was just straight up what you hear, right? And so I said to my mother, I heard about this school, I've been hearing about it for a while, I'm going to Howard. And she was just like, it's away, and it's in DC, and I'm just like, I heard about the school, and I'm going, right? Period. So I was just like, okay, I'm going to apply to Howard, and then I'm going to apply to a CUNY, CUNY.
Right.
And what happens is, if in the event that, I don't make it to Howard, I'll make it, I'll stay here and go to the CUNY, but some way I'm going to go to Howard, right? But that was the time when Puffy was there, right? That was the time when, just so many things.
Wow.
Like,
So you were in school with Puff?
he was just leaving.
Wow.
So I know.
So I know
like,
the energy was crazy around that time.
Oh my God. It was like the only thing ever that this is a place that you wanted to be, right? So when I get there, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like this is Howard. So basically, I apply, and I'm not necessarily, and I always say that they're like, you a whole professor, but I'm not necessarily a scholar.
Right.
I'm a teacher,
Right.
if that makes a difference. Like, I didn't have the best grades in high school, and I did not, when I got to Howard, oh my God, I barely, my first semester, like I barely made it, because it was like, It's Howard. I was literally straight up partying.
Yeah.
Wow.
True story, right?
Cool.
But what happened was I realized the value of that opportunity, right? And I saw all the things that Puff was doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he would go on the Greyhound up Amtrak up and work, and I was just like, you know, enamored by the music industry because it was an opportunity, right, for somebody like me.
Right.
And so what happened was at Howard, a lot of things were going on in hip hop. Like we just had a 30-year celebration of a 30-year celebration of the Cultural Initiatives Hip Hop Conference. There's a hip hop conference at Howard during that time. So it was a lot going on in the hip hop space. So I was on that panel, but just to tell about, you know, my experience and doing marketing for that panel, right? I mean, for the 4 years or 3 years I was at Howard, right? Crazy times, crazy stories. So every rapper in the world would come down for the Howard University, you know, homecoming or cultural initiative, right?
I never been to one of those, but I heard they are.
You gotta go when it open back up. Be my guest.
I heard they are so lit.
I went last time I went was I usually go every but 2 years ago. I didn't know it was the last one actually. That's crazy. Before COVID.
Before the COVID.
Yeah, it was. Oh man,
Yeah, you did go. I remember.
Life changing.
It's a great time. It's a great
Life
vibe.
changing.
You'll leave there so motivated. It's ridiculous.
Life changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened was probably like my sophomore year, I saw a sign that said do you want to work for Def Jam?
Right.
And I'm like, it was a crew of us. A lot of people don't realize that. And if you watch this Cultural Initiative interview, it came out like maybe about 3 weeks ago. 3 weeks ago. It was a virtual, all day, you know, virtual, like a whole, you know, panel. It was good though because it got it, you know, once again, you remember these memories, right?
Who else was on the panel?
This guy named Derek Jackson. He managed Common Sense for like 30 the whole time. He just literally he's been managing Common Sense School until now. Young Guru, you guys know who Young Guru is?
Yeah.
So Young Guru, he was in our little Def Jam clique, right? And people don't know that we all went to Howard at the same time, which is crazy.
Wow, that's crazy.
But what happened was there's a guy named Kevin Mitchell who put up this sign. He was like, he's a little bit older than me, but what he used to do was like the promotions in the Mid-Atlantic region for Def Jam. Okay. So he got all of us, and of course, there's a gentleman who is family now named Sidney Margetson. Okay. He's the senior vice president of publicity at Atlantic Records right now. Right, he's been at Atlantic for 27 years. Right. Family. So he was a part of that. You know, early. You know, Def Jam. There's a guy named Jim Nice. You know, Atlanta. You know Jim Nice, right? Jim Nice. He used to be down with Steve Stout.
Right.
Now he's into them SE bikes. So that Jim Nice. So all of those people that were in my little Def Jam clique are now where but people don't know that about the back. You know that dope circle, right?
Yeah, that need to be more praised, honestly. Yeah, because y'all got it out the mud, as we say.
Yeah,
you know?
that was.
Y'all
that
worked
was
very
very
hard
true.
to, you know.
And so Kevin used to make us go to all the clubs, right, and put up Def Jam posters and take pictures in front of all of them. So we used to do the club circuit in D.C. It was like my first, you know, internship. And so what happened was I did that all the way into my junior year. So my junior year at Howard, I was the volunteer. I went out for like, you know, talent coordinator, but I didn't get that, right? They gave me.
I know it's tough to get that.
Yeah, it was.
Everybody wanted that.
Everybody wanted that talent coordinator.
That's right after he brought Biggie there, right?
No, that was my year.
Oh, okay.
That was my year.
Continue.
Wow. That was my year. And so what happened was, I got the job as volunteer coordinator, which is like at homecoming. So if you guys don't know Howard homecoming, it's like, you know, the biggest thing. Thousands and thousands of people. Whether you went to Howard, whether you go to Howard,
3-4 days, 3-4 days up there.
The whole week.
You're not sleeping that weekend.
You don't sleep, right? You don't sleep. And so I said, you know, I was a volunteer coordinator, which meant that I had to, you know, kind of be in charge of 300 student volunteers. So I had to supply, as a team, we had to supply, the workers or the volunteers for the talent show, the fashion show, the yard fest, and all of that. So like I said, I was interning for Def Jam at the time, and I went to them, and I went to Def Jam. Leo Cohen, big shout out to Leo Cohen, who's now the president at YouTube. Julie Greenwald, who's the CEO at Atlantic Records. Those were my people, right? Big names, right? And so what happened was, I asked them to sponsor the T-shirts for Homecoming, right? And imagine remember hip hop is not mainstream then, right? We were a small label back then. And just imagine the opportunity to sponsor like 500 shirts on campus while the rest of the labels is walking around looking crazy. So I know someone has a shirt, but basically it was, Def Jam Records, and there was volunteer on the back or staff on the back. Classic, right? And so what happened was I would have we had badges, and I would have 20 people working this time, 20 people working over here. And back to what you were saying was that, the hip hop show that year, when you watch the Biggie movie, and the first time he ever performed Party and Bullshit was then.
Yeah. Wow. You was there.
I was standing by the stage.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
I feel like sometimes I got a lot of forest.
Can you take us to that? Exactly. Because,
I want to know.
Is that as far as the set, as like in the movie, how they got the...
It was exactly that same way.
How they did the fake jumping in.
And we were so basically, I remember...
Do you remember you had me on the bus at 14, 15 years old to Howard Homecoming, and I was there for that show.
Wow. So you witnessed that.
This is my mentor, so a lot of these memories I remember as a young kid, 14, 15, 16 and up. So I've been in the Julie Greenwald's and Leah's office because of her.
Wow.
But I remember from a child when Party and Bullshit came out, and it was nothing else. I was right in front of this stage.
That's not crazy. I vaguely remember
that, right? I remember that clearly. Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah. And then he was doing a lot of those early videos. I had him at 14 and 15 at Def Jam. He was doing a lot of those. So a lot of those hip hop videos, he was first AD on those videos.
Wow.
All those Steve Carr videos.
Hype Williams.
He was working. And sometimes I wish that, he would have stuck with it. But he'll tell his, in a minute. But basically, my whole thing, so basically, had the staff there, and you got to, be working the aisles and just make sure that, everything is good. And then, it was Biggie, and I remember, if I remember correct, so that was later. What happened was, you remember the Biggie cover for Vibe?
Yeah.
Yes.
So me, Misa, and Biggie were the first people there that day. So I have a story about that too.
Wow.
But this was later.
That's when he met Faith
right?
in the movie, I think?
That's when what?
He met Faith or something like that?
Nah.
That's not the scene? All right,
he met Faith at a bad boy.
Okay.
Something. But I remember that day, being right by the stage and just was watching, everybody was rocking, the whole crowd was watching. And what happened was, Howard is, has an affinity for all, superstars. I remember meeting Alonzo Mourning that day.
Wow.
I remember meeting a couple of... Chris Webber was there in that crowd. I remember.
C. Webb.
So that was my era. And so then I'm standing by the stage, and then all of a sudden, Party and Bullshit goes on. And then all of a sudden, it was like a fight in the background, and everybody's running and ducking, and then all of a sudden it gets calm, and then he goes on, but then after that it erupts again because everybody's like, oh my god. But I remember that, and I remember it was a post office pavilion. There's a girl named Jamel. I just did we did a Def Jam 30-year reunion on Clubhouse maybe about a month ago.
Right. I seen that. I was going to talk to you about that.
Oh, okay.
I didn't get to see the Clubhouse, but I seen the picture that you combined and all the people. I said,
crazy.
Dang, that's a legendary picture. All them names. All them people have something to do with hip hop. Today, yesterday, going on. It's crazy that lineup I seen. And I seen you in there. I seen Russ, Leor. I seen you. I seen a couple people in there that I know
which was
that's
crazy.
In the game. And I'm like, wow, that's a big thing, man.
Crazy.
And
Leor got so robbed.
I didn't know you. I didn't. Sorry, control. I didn't know that you had something to do with that. I thought I was going to get into the Rough Riders. I thought you were just strictly with them because I seen you, and I'm gonna get into that now. I'm gonna get into that. I seen you before. Like, see, it's crazy because like we spoke to you about you coming on before that even came out.
Right.
So when I seen you, and I'm like, yo, that's who Fa was talking about.
On
that's
the Rough Riders documentary.
On the documentary that came on BET.
It's still playing on BET, which is like, it's surreal sometimes, you know, again, to just be able to tell my story. But so what happened was, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, I was hyped. I was hyped. Like I knew you. I didn't even know you.
You do know me. We family now. We family now.
Yo, that's her right there. And I was like, yo, she gotta come on. Like, because Fa always told me you've been around, but to see you there,
I'm a hoe. I've been around.
No.
Like I'll get around.
No, not like that.
No,
but he's telling me. But you know, but when I seen you on there, I was just like, wow, that's how she definitely got to come on. We need you on there. There's some stories I gotta hear.
I
know you was around like the shit.
Crazy. That's crazy. Yeah. So what happened was when I was about to graduate from Howard, this is me being backstory. After that, after that homecoming was my junior year. That summer after my junior year, I went up and I interned at Def Jam in New York City. Okay. Right? So the story that I was telling on that Def Jam reunion, right? A lot of those stories that, that I remember and was telling was like, I interned and we were in Rick Rubin's, 3-story? What do you call those? What do you call those things?
Condos?
Not a condo, but like a
penthouse.
Yeah, it was like like a duplex, like a townhouse, right? Like
Okay.
And basically, when I got to New York, when I went there. My very first day, I saw this lady named Rhonda Cowan. Big shout out to Rhonda Cowan, and she's one of the girls who taught me how to be fly. Like like she was the director of video during that time. So the first person I saw. So the first floor was like Chris Lighty's office. Second floor was like management. So Michael Kaiser, who's the president of Atlantic, he was working doing promotions. And then I can't remember. The third floor was like RAL where we worked, right? And then the top floor, Rick Rubin left he went to LA, but he had left for his house. So we weren't allowed up there, right? Okay. But it was crazy. So I used to go there every day. I was working 13 hours a day, just trying to like learn, grow, whatever. And remember, this is the days before internet.
Yes.
This is the day. So there was like one fax. I was saying this the other day. This was like, we had like one fax machine, one computer that we shared.
Wow.
I remember there was LL Cool J had a song called Pink Cookies in a Plastic Bag. You remember that song? And so getting crushed by buildings. And so I remember them having me to fill thousands of bags of pink cookies, right? And then, as a promo item, and then put it in, then they gave me a bag of tokens, right? Tokens. By the way, and I had to ride all the way around, the city, giving out these pink cookies to all the influencers. Yeah. So right now, of course, you can do it digitally, but just to have those relationships with people like, DJ Enough, people like, there was Roberto Gooden who used to work at the record store, like all these people. But so. My next, then it was my senior year, and then when I was about to graduate, I wrote this 10-page essay to Leor and Julie, how can I work? Then we moved to Varick Street. That became famous. So that was
that was a hangout after that.
That's the one where everybody
160 Varick Street.
I remember them days.
That's when she got me my first job.
You was up there?
At 14 to 17, I worked in Julie Greenwald's office or Leo's office, and that was my first job. It was the jukebox. Y'all may not remember that, but you used to have to pay for videos.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I used to order the videos for Foxy Brown, Meth and Red, Jay-Z. I did all of those guys. You know what I'm saying? So, and they used to pay me. That was my first job.
That's crazy.
Big time marketing, and I used to sit literally in Julie or Leo's office. I only answered to Russell or Leo, and of course Julie.
That amazing.
And remember also, we used to give out. He used to give out balloons through his company.
Right, that's fire.
That's
fire.
Yeah.
That was your job.
That was your day to day.
I tell you the things the doors she opened, and from then to now, she created a monster of what I seen. I didn't know you had to pay for liquor at clubs, because I'm 15, 16, going in with meth, bread,
right?
You know, and they like, oh, that's little brother. They used to call me little brother because I was her little brother. So that's how they acknowledged me. The bouncers, everybody. So they used to get me in the clubs. We used to remember the time we was talking about. We gave the pink cookies out. I was 15, 16. We gave Onyx. And we had
the worms, Onyx,
the gummy
Shifty.
worms, Shifty, low down, gritty, and grimy. So we used to do all of that. Then we used to get in a grand car or a train ride and go to the video shoots after working all day. School for me,
man,
that didn't work. So my childhood was
that's fun.
You be at the office and you suddenly see Scarface walking. The legendary Scarface walking.
Not the Cuban nigga.
Let's talk about. I think this is gonna be exciting. The Christmas parties.
Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
I remember 15 years old going to a Christmas party and seeing the Notorious Big, Wesley Snipes, Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Oh my god!
But this
in
was
one place.
In one place, but it was like regular for me because they was coming up to the office, and after every night, I'm telling you, I had the best childhood anybody could ever have. Anybody.
Nobody put us on exclusive.
Yeah, they gave me a grand car every night after I left the office to get home from school, and I went to Andrew Jackson, still Big Queen. Not the magnet.
Damn,
we was the reason.
I was the first year.
Yeah, that's right. We was still super tough.
Yeah, definitely.
We was the first one to have the JFK metal detectors in school.
That's a fact.
Extremely tough school. LL went there.
52.
Yeah,
and Ja.
Yeah.
And I think Rev 2. That's a legendary school.
And Lover, big shout out to Ed Lover.
He was a security guard too. Also,
yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The stories, Meth and Red on tour, the interviews, Def Comedy Jam, Def Comedy Jam. You could say any topic. We was there.
Oh my God, Def Comedy Jam.
I was 16 years old in Jackson. Imagine. She coming in the office. I get my Christmas. I worked there. She gave me my first job.
I was about to ask about the bonuses.
Yeah. First, I was getting back then like over $2,000 a month just for doing that. Then she used to send me on the video shoots with Steve Carr, and he said, Steve Carr, I love you, Steve. So he says, listen, you talk to them, the black guys. You handle them. Here's the money. Here's everything. You the day to day for them. Wow. So those experiences and opportunities opened my mind up to other lights that you couldn't even imagine. I'm just blessed and appreciative to have her in my life. Yes. Because she, she does that for everybody else.
Right. Open eyes. Yeah.
She had me like that since 13, 12 years old.
That's dope.
That's
dope. Yeah. That's dope. Yeah. And that's ill because you could have went your own lane. You could have been on some. I'm be over here. Yeah. But that's ill that you went, you listened, and you followed, and look where it got you. But you a legend in your own right too.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, he is
a legend in your own right too, brother.
And that's dope that you listen too. Yeah. A lot of siblings won't listen.
A lot of people.
A lot of siblings will not listen. I ain't trying to be like my brother. Yeah. I ain't trying to be like I ain't going over there. But you stood down and. Yeah, I mean that's dope. That's dope.
He listened for the most part, right? Then we had a little, thing, and now
just growing up,
talking
going
about
to
The issue that we had was with hard-headed Maze.
Maze.
So he managed Maze. He put Maze, but So at Def Jam, like he said, it was just it was a different world, and it was just opportunity. And back then, we were there. At a time when the business was growing, right? And I always, give Leora Cohen, and Julie Greenwald the thanks. But Leora Cohen was the first person that bought me my first car when I graduated from college, right? Wow. Leora Cohen, bought me my first piece of jewelry that was over $5,000. You understand what I'm saying? Like, just so those experiences, incomparable. And so what happened was when I got to Def Jam, so Leora's, they called me in for this interview, right? And then when I got to Def Jam, basically I was going for the promotions coordinator, like college promotions. I'm like, I went to college. He was like, nope, you take the promotions coordinator job. So I'm like, okay, took the promotions coordinator job, and then a little bit after that, the company started to grow again, and they started a marketing department and made Julie Greenwald the head of the marketing department. So first they made me like a little, I was still the assistant. Then I was able to do the marketing for Flatliners. That was my first group on my own, which was Russell's Nephews. And then after that, they realized that I realized I had a knack for marketing, but my major at Howard was communications because there was really no marketing degree back then, right? And then fast forward to, I just started to grow, in the company and in my own, bubble or in my own world, I would say. And then what happened was, as we started to get these artists, or these artists or these, labels, I just was the person that, was blessed enough to do these, to do the marketing and come up with these plans, right? For these artists. Some of them had, staff, that were newer staff, and I walked them through that are huge now, like Lenny S. Right? Came with, Shaka
Lenny
Pilgrim.
Can you get Lenny S to unblock me? Because he blocked me.
What'd you say to Lenny? Too funny.
What you do, Dutch?
I didn't say anything to him directly. I was talking about Vic Mensa. I was like, he's not.
What? Around the time he was that?
He's not. I gave my opinion on Vic Mensa, but I like Lenny S. though.
He
blocked me for that. He blocked me for that.
He invited us up.
I don't like Vic Mensa like that. I'm gonna be honest. The artist, he's not one of my favorites.
Got it.
So
and you're entitled to your.
I think I left the opinion,
but not somebody they making money off of.
He was shouting him out, and I was like, I don't know.
That's my attorney Julian's artist as well.
Yeah, sorry about that. I don't
got beef though. I don't got beef. Right? But that's Vic Mensa.
Never know.
I like Lenny.
Lenny's the bomb.com.
I always follow Lenny. I'm like, yo, Lenny's dope.
He invited us to. I took. You did. I think it was when you left. I think the next year after the next cycle of students. I took some students from IR to Rock Nation. He hosted us.
Wow, I'm
at
tight.
Rock Nation.
Cause we was like the experiment class.
I wish I was your student.
We sat in Lenny S's office, the gold couch, pictures on the gold couch. The students was crazy. They still be calling me. So that was one of the. But my students now, like we'll fast forward. My students now, they've had all of that. We've been to Def Jam, we've been to Atlantic, but I'll bring all of that.
Do they appreciate
your class
it?
look
They
fun.
love me.
I ain't gonna
Like
lie. You at Monroe?
I'm the administrator. Administrative professor at Monroe College, full-time professor.
Yes. And that's dope. I never seen like somebody headline like the hip hop professor.
Thank you.
That's dope.
That's my brand.
Yeah, that's dope. That's
Thank you
dope.
so much. It's a double-edged sword, right? Because the I want to say the education industry, right? They're not really used to. I mean, it's straight laced. You're teaching, college level courses. You're teaching higher education, but what happens is, so I have two. I have the hip hop professor, which is, no one can tell the story and present like I present, right? But I also have the Professor Young experience because I'm going to do it different regardless of any level in any room. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So, you want to hear the rest of the Def Jam stuff, or you want to talk about the current stuff?
We can get to the cover stuff. Then I want to get into you, my brother, because you're a legend in your song. So
no, he is. Like the whole HNY, know HNY.
I heard of HNY.
Yeah, he's a legend.
So continue.
So, what you want to hear?
We go to Def Jam.
Let's
hear the Def Jam rock.
Okay.
Let's get to that.
I want to get to the beginning, like them days, because them days are golden.
They were, and I didn't realize, right?
Because you're living in the moment.
Because you're living in the moment, and this is before social media, right?
Yeah. This is record all those wonderful things that happen that you can't even explain.
What happens at Def Jam? What happens on the road? Stay on the road, right? But you can't. But sometimes I wish I do now have
social media,
social media, or have been able to record this stuff because it's way different. It's a way different. You know what I'm saying? Like the very first day that Leora Cohen had went to Yonkers and came back and gave me DMX, right?
Wow.
So I did the marketing for all the first five the first five DMX albums, so all of the Rough Riders.
So hold on.
There, my name is. You didn't
know
that?
Classics.
I know some, but I didn't know that to that extent.
You didn't know that?
I knew that to a certain extent, but you said first five.
First five.
So that means the first you. one of the greatest hip hop years in history.
Fact.
Yes.
Those first
99?
I did the marketing.
Wow.
My name is on the liner notes, like marketing by, no share credit. Like, I have those plaques. Somebody stole them. A crackhead stole them I don't know who stole them, but somebody stole them like about 5 years ago. But I had like hundreds and hundreds of plaques, but I still got a good lot, right? But yeah, so when I was at Def Jam, I said I found my niche, right? And what happened was, I did, when they signed Rough Riders, those first 5 DMX albums were mine. Like, I did them. Like,
I was like me and X for the first time.
Yeah. X for the first time.
Because I see y'all became close. That became real close.
He's my brother to this day. I just saw him. His pictures. He was shooting a video with the Locks right during COVID. Yeah, and I went to Harlem to meet him, and we took pictures. I love X, like, to this minute, right? To this day, like, he's my family to this day. But all families got a bunch of stuff,
That's how it
so
is.
I was like, he's the nicest, sweetest person you would ever want to meet to this day. So if you find out about, like, my relationship with X, is watching the Rough Riders, documentary that's airing on BET right now. You can look and find this. It was DMX Diary on MTV Volume 2. I'm in that, and he talks about how he feels about me. So it's a whole segment in that about me. But just, brother, like, he's a dope dude, humble, grateful dude to this day. And I'm grateful for it. So at one time, when they gave him the label, I was the general manager for Bloodline.
Yes.
So the first, all of that stuff, that was my stuff as well. But then at the same time, I guess simultaneous, I did, the first, I think it was the first 5 Jay-Z albums. They were mine as well. So the rock, like, remember that
your man
it was when Ray signed him. Those were my albums as well. Then it was like the first compilation. Then it was like a Memphis Bleak. The first Clue album was mine.
Wow.
That was mine.
Classics.
That's crazy.
Oh, every Foxy Brown. I did all the marketing for Foxy Brown.
You still keep in touch with Foxy?
She called Jazz.
I come to Brooklyn for the Marchands, right? For Anton Marchand and Gavin Marchand. I still love the brothers, right? I will always have love for Foxy. I spoke to her probably last summer. The most beautiful baby, like, so sweet. The little girl, she's so beautiful. I come to Brooklyn for the Marchands. Yeah, so and what happens is during that time you meet people. Relationships play the majorest role in life, not even life, but just career, right? And what happens is, and if somebody could take a video of this for me and just, send it to me, like a 2-minute video of what I'm about to say, and send it to me. The biggest thing that I learned back then was that relationships are more important than anything. They're bigger than any job. They're bigger than any... Relationships are more important than anything. They're bigger than jobs. They're bigger than, a project or whatever. If you, to this day, like, if you call anybody, if you see anybody to this day and say my name is solid in this music industry. And, and that's what I strive to keep. Like, I'm as solid as they come. And it's like, when you do great work and you have great relationships, to me, that's the biggest thing. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. To this day.
Yes.
You can call, like, I'll give you for instance, I hadn't seen Jay in years, right? Years. I have a little brother. A lot of people I call my little brothers, but I have 2 birth brothers, same mother, same father, right? I got a lot of family and cousins. Does that make sense?
Yes.
This is my birth brother, same mother, same father,
yes.
Business partner. Like,
I'm comfortable.
Right? But I have a little church brother that grew up out here in Brooklyn. Hezekiah Walker is my pastor. Love Fellowship. And what happened was, him, he's VK Brasco. He's on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Yep. So he's my, grew up watching him, whatever. I think he's dope to this day. And I really feel like he's dope.
I used to mess with him.
Okay, got it. And so what happened was, one day he was like, this is when I was at the Source. He was just like, yo, he was signed to Timberland at the time. So so he's like, after work at the Source, he met me. He was just like, could you come with me to the studio? And I'm like, okay. So we on the way, I'm like, oh, it's Alicia Keys, and it was Jungle Studio, which is Alicia Keys and Swiss's studio. Wow. And I had been there recently because I had a meeting with Swiss, right, because of my relationship at Rough Riders, right? But I went back that night. So when I went back that night, I walk in the studio and I'm like, is Jay-Z in the studio? And I hadn't seen Jay since I left Def Jam, forever. It was a birthday party that he had that I went to, but after that, I hadn't seen him, right? Hadn't spoken to him. I'm great friends with, Shaka Pilgrim and Lenny S. and Omi Ellie and all of them, but I hadn't seen Jay and Tata, right? I told you, that was probably after. But the moral of the story is I walk into Jungle Studios and it's Swiss in there, it's Timbaland in there, and Jay-Z is in there with Ebro from the Morning Club.
Right.
And I'm like,
knew he was.
Oh my God. Right? And so what happened was, it was just like, even though, for me, I've been in situations like there was a humbling experience, right? Timbaland kind of vaguely remembered me, right? But he was just like, he kept saying to me, you remind me so much of Missy. And I was just like, I know. I know. But at the end, he hugged me. He put his number in my phone. Like, just, good people. But the reason why I brought that up is because I have my kid. Like, my kids got a story like him.
Wow.
Because they get dragged. Like,
they got to come.
And they don't know. Yeah. Like, my 16-year-old now, he's understanding, who
how
mommy is.
But
when people was just like, little, like, your mommy's a legend, he was just like, yeah, give me some whatever.
Give me some money,
but
man.
Now he's like, oh, if I don't have him meet Y&B coordinate this year, then I'm a whack mom, right?
Look what it comes to.
But Slick Rick is his godfather on paper. Wow. You understand what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine a child that Slick Rick is your godfather on paper? Could you imagine, like, Slick Rick is your godfather on paper? Shout out to Slick and Mandy, right? But the moral of the story is that when I walked into the studio, I see, all these people. Trey Songz was there that night. Just an amazing, plethora of creative people. And it was a humbling experience for me because hadn't seen, I saw Swiss. Swiss is just the most amazing dude ever. Yes. Amazing dude ever. But I hadn't seen Jay in a while. Hadn't seen, Timbaland, whatever. But the moral of the story is that when I went in, stayed there a couple of hours, talked to Timbaland about BK Brasco, right? When I left the studio, Jay co-signed for me.
Wow. Crazy.
Do you understand? Yeah, she's solid. She could break a record.
Yeah, crazy.
Do you understand? That type of
I know that
relationship?
That's great.
You
That's a great feeling.
And that's what I appreciate. And a lot of people, and I've run into situations, over the years and recently where people don't understand that relationships are the best thing. Like, if you could walk into anywhere, anybody in the music industry and mention my name, it's going to be all love. They will get, and I worked hard for that reputation. If that makes sense. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense. I got you. That's a beautiful story, by the way, man. Just being in that atmosphere.
Insane.
And Hov doing that, man, because Hov had to do that,
No, he didn't. He could have. And what happened was, just an amazing experience. But while at Def Jam, I had, the opportunity to work Slick Rick, who I still do marketing for to this day.
But you said it so vaguely, like, yo, Slick Rick, legally, my son's godfather. Like, how, like, that's, what was that like? How did you and Slick Rick get that tight?
So, when I was, doing the marketing at Def Jam, working all those projects, right? Some went amazing. Some, some I didn't work. Some didn't work out, right? I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's not going to have the same relationship, with everybody. But grateful. I worked, like, when they signed all the West Coast stuff, like, you ever heard a song called Moke and Stuff? I did J.O. Felony. That was mine.
J.O.
I got a story of... all that was mine.
What's our connection was over there?
Domino.
Huh?
What's our connection? Matt 10?
No.
The Dub C was there?
No.
No?
Just Domino, like,
Domino, here we go, here we go.
That was mine.
That's the Jordan. Ain't that the first dude that was singing on melodies and rapping?
That was the first dude that was singing on melodies.
What's the girl? S and WV? What S?
No. Who?
S and V. Y and V.
Y&V.
She sung on the Tupac. Wasn't the two girls that sung on the Tupac record?
Yeah,
she
they did.
But
BG Knockout and Gangsta Dresta, they was the
Knockout.
sons to...
BG Knockout. Shout out to BG Knockout. He stay in the comments. Everybody.
Really?
Yes, he's active.
We remember you, BG Knockout, still out there.
He's on my friend list. He's on my IG. But they were Easy's. They came under Easy. But I got a story about how we shot a J.O. Felony video on the West Coast, right? a Ice Cube video. This is with DMX. A Ice Cube video on the West Coast, like Friday, Saturday. Flew back into JFK, and I'm from Queens, so I was trying to get out at my stop. Like, let me out.
Yeah.
We passing my house, and Y was like, no, like, you coming. And I remember shooting 3 more days for Money, Power, Respect.
Wow.
Could you imagine? Straight to Yonkers.
If you would have never, if you would have got out that car, you never been
a part of history. Could you
That's
imagine?
history right
Wow.
there.
That's history.
What was that set like?
We keep jumping all over the place.
There's too many because you got
It's so much
many
stuff, right?
So much
It's
stuff.
So
you like 2 shows.
So
To be honest.
Slick Rick, right? What happened was, I still do Rick's marketing to this day. Like, I love Rick. He is out of mostly all the people ever. He has a beautiful wife named Mandy, who's his manager, who's one of my best friends
dope.
ever. I call her
cool.
my sister.
That's cool.
Like, like I know her mother. Like, she knows my family, right?
Yeah, that's dope.
And I don't have sisters. Or I have sisters. You have sisters? So I have sisters that,
My father was outside.
So I had, but my blood sisters, I don't really know them that well. But Mandy became my sister, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was, when Rick had got out the first time, Bimmy.
Shout out to Jimmy.
I'm gonna talk to you about that
Bimmy
too.
later. Okay.
Like,
There's so many. Okay.
So many layers to you.
So Bimmy was the A&R for Rick, and Bimmy told Leor to put me on the project. And I was like, okay. And they had shot a video already. And I was like, okay. But I had this concept, right? And what happened was, it was Rick kind of taking off all that. Do you remember that video? What was that video? He's riding in a Bentley, and we shot it at a mansion. When I remember the name of it, right?
That's not the one with Outkast, right?
No, this wasn't the one with Outkast. This was Rick by himself. But I remember kind of coming up with the concept for Rick to take off the gold, and to put on the platinum.
Yeah.
So now he does a big mix of everything. This man is a humble,
Icon.
iconic legend.
I love Slick Rick.
Like a humble, iconic legend, like just that remained the set. Like, they are like the nicest, sweetest people ever, right?
I believe it.
And so I worked the project, Bimmy doing A&R, and I was doing the marketing, and it just blew. Like, it was just an amazing, opportunity for me. But what happened was, when you're good people, again, relationships mean everything. And I felt like, and certain people that you'll meet and you'll be cool with, or certain people that you won't see and you could just, embrace years later. But Rick and Mandy have remained consistent in my life, right? Friends, on each other, on both sides of, Mandy and I have a business called the Endeavor Agency. She's my partner in one of my companies called the Endeavor Agency, where we book artists and send them on tour. Sometimes they're icons, sometimes they're little people. But me and Mandy have this company. We sent EPMD on a world tour like a couple of summers ago. But Mandy's my partner, in that business as well. But it's like people that you just keep, having a relationship with, and they're that set of people. I talk to Mandy probably almost every single day, whether it be business or, personal. Oh, what are you doing? I'm here. I'm this, I'm that. For those relationships, I want to say I appreciate and, I appreciate them, but I value them, right?
Yes.
And then what happened was, Rick's attorney had passed away. He had, and then I actually, gave them to Julian, and Julian is, relationships to this day. So it's just all about relationships. If that makes sense.
We could segue.
Yeah, I want to get to my brother. You a legend in yourself, man. Like, I know you got businesses. I know you walked in. You was telling us about. Tell us about the businesses you working on. What you got going on?
All right.
CraigO. Introduce yourself.
My name is CraigO.
Yeah.
Big
So this
Queen.
is my blood brother. Same mother, same father. I'm older.
I love it.
This is my brother CraigO, Big Queens. Ask anybody in Queens, they know who we are. Ask anybody in Queens, they know who we are. But this is my brother, Big Craig. CraigO.
Yeah, so, it's just a segue of business for me. I started, my first job was Def Jam with my sister. So under that, I
beautiful resume.
Under Russell, Leo. So I seen the makings of it. So, she taught me the educational part as well as the hands-on training. I remember her giving me books, like, read this book or you can't come into work. You know what I'm saying? It was everything you need to know about the music business, and it broke down the structure of the music business at that time. And what that did at a young age is being in those atmospheres, it just gave me a lot of drive, and I cannot see stop. I cannot see no limits. I can't see nothing to everything that what I do. So, you know, the segue is started just from that to my own, you know, my own record company with my people's HNY, VO, Fat Boy, you know. And artists like Maze, Billy. So we had our whole thing. We done did songs with Yo Gotti, Money Right Now, Sunny Good Times, What Up, Much Money. So you know, it's a lot of us. My man right now, we got Cello. Shout out,
right. That freestyle you put out yesterday was fire.
Yeah, Rod Dollar been the leader.
Rod Dollar. I'm trying to get him on here.
That's
too.
our
That's
fam.
my guy.
That's my brothers. I'm with them every
Yeah.
day. We got our own studio in Queens as well as a juice bar, HNY Juice Bar. Shout out Sam. What up? So you know we steadily and heavily active. Moving on a separate note, I own my own car company. It's called Lease to Drive NY.
Yes.
And I do provide insurance, you know, education of what we're doing. I'm just not pushing cars on people. I do great numbers because I do great business. I have a staff. Jeff, what up? Jermaine, what up? Lease to Drive family. Peak, what up? Mike, what up? So we do a lot of business with directly with car dealers like Honda directly, BMW directly. So I get the best prices and, you know, get you in pre-owned or brand new lease, whatever you want. Rolls Royces to Ultimas.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to get you covered as well as the insurance and everything. So I'm proud. I just got my license about last week. So I'll be able to open our own family car depot, per se, because it's more than... you know, just a car lot. When you do business, you want to cover every aspect. So when my clients come to me, they know they covered. They ain't got to worry about it. They don't even have to leave their house most of the time. I have an online application and to make it to right now where the time is.
Right.
So you could sort out your car through me, and by the time you get to me, you signing and leaving. You know.
So how does like? Sorry to cut you off. So how does like? Because you know y'all worked for Def Jam. Y'all had a lot of experiences. You know, and that's like, you know, own company. I mean, how it feels like to be working together, having your own company and stuff like that, black-owned business. You know what I'm saying?
So we realized that it starts and ends with family, right? Yes. And if you look at like, you know, successful empires, you know, the Hiltons. Like, you understand my point? Like, it's about, it starts and ends with family. So, you know, we worked for a bunch of people. Like you said, I was on a bunch of projects. I worked for families. I worked for, you know, the Rough Riders, who are family, and I respect them all day, appreciate them. But then what happens is when you realize that you gotta, you know,
move on,
circle back and be family, right? So we actually incorporated the family name, right? Yes. And then, go ahead.
All right, so our biggest situation right now is called Young Manor Estates. So Young Manor Estates is, me and my sister just bought a lot of acreage. We're closing in the paperwork right now. It's in New York. We're going to have, besides, you know, our homes there, we're going to have a farm. We're going to have Airbnb.
Nice.
You know, we just know that you have to not let nobody control your direction. And like Ho said, you got to get it from the ground. You know what I'm saying? So if we got our self-sustained community, which we're closing on right now and building from the ground up, you know, it just leads to so many different things as well as a mind state and the way the world is going today. We think it's a necessity.
Right, it is.
We saw them supermarkets closed.
Right.
We had no food, and my family ain't gonna go through that.
Right.
You know, so we're gonna be sure, and just like in the music business, to whatever we did, we're gonna put our all, do it right, correct, so it could be beneficiary for our kids in the future, because we're building something for them. This is a 10-year project. It's in steps, you know, but step one is great.
That's dope. That's dope.
It's good. This is dope, man. I want to clap that up, man. That's dope. Man.
Yeah.
We don't get that on here.
Fact.
We don't really get that on here, man. And that's what we want to spread too, more of that. So
really, nobody put us on for real.
This is a dope episode. So I want to get back into like the back in the days, because that's I'm really stuck on that, man. So you was doing the Def Jam, right? Mm-hmm. And you said something about the Source as well. That was before Def Jam.
Nope, after.
That was after Def Jam.
Mm-hmm.
What? So what was life after Def Jam then?
So life after Def Jam, entrepreneurship. I would say.
That was the level of entrepreneurship.
What happened was, when I told you I was the general manager for Bloodline Records, and then I knew at that point, like I always had my own, and at that time in the music industry, it was just like a lot of, opportunity. I will say that. So I always had like my own and extra, right? And then I saw that, this is a true story, and I don't know whether you even know the story. Because I didn't share it back then. But what happened was, when I knew I was leaving Def Jam, I knew that I wanted to open a business, right? And what happened was, I saw a a row of 5 stores in Teaneck, New Jersey, right? That I knew that I wanted to purchase. I had a business manager at the time, and she went with me on that particular day to put a bid on the building. It was only $500,000, right? And my credit was lit 700. I had money in the bank, right? So she went with me to put a bid on, have paperwork, put a bid on the actual building, only to find out that day that she defrauded me, literally that day, that she defrauded me of $250,000. She defrauded, it was the biggest...
That's a big scandal.
Scam. So you guys have heard of it. You're probably a little younger, but it was like, if you Google it, I mean, it's the biggest hip hop. So she's the reason why Murder Inc. had to go to trial.
Wow.
Whoa.
Could you imagine?
That's crazy.
My office and Murder Inc. office was on the same floor.
Yeah.
So what happened was, I think like I had literally a day or two, and I had left, to start my restaurant, and I was gonna, put this down payment on this 5-store building, and then when we were leaving, Jay had an assistant called Carlene Ballin. She's from Brooklyn. Shout out to Carlene. She called me and she was just like, Gabby stole our money, and I was just like, what are you talking about? I just left her. Like, what do you mean? And Gabby was engaged to Michael Kaiser back then.
Oh man!
So it was a big hip hop scandal. And I never got my money back. But I was the one who was defrauded the least.
Yeah.
Like the least. She stole. I'm not gonna name names here, but you can Google it. She stole big money from big names, right? Because we all had trusted her. We grew up with her. She worked at Def Jam, right? And so it was a humbling experience for me, because then I had to work my way back out the mud, and I'm still not out.
Right.
Like, I'm still not out, right? And so, I live paycheck to paycheck. Thank God that I have a decent paycheck, right? And I got some, God is good, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, could you imagine having, what you thought was your nest egg to go do the next thing?
Right,
and then in a blink.
Snatch it away from you.
And what she did was became a snitch. And I'm not going to put the whole, because I feel like I just keep rehashing it, but she's a snitch. And they had to stop me on more than one occasion because I was about to go to jail, right? And what happened was she decided to partner with the feds and testify against some people, right?
What? So she robbed and snitched?
And she robbed and snitched so she wouldn't have to go to jail. So it's the same town.
That's
the worst kind of snake. And she's ugly. And she's a monkey. And if I see her, like I saw her about 3 years ago, and I'm going to leave it like that. Yeah. But what happened was, during that time, I just, you thought you have a nest egg, you thought you had the next level to do something. Humbling experience, right? So I'm back had about 50,000 in an account that she didn't have, but she took everything from me, right? Everything that I had worked all those years for in the music industry.
Right.
And so I started from the beginning again. I opened a restaurant, and I just want to shout out people like Ed Lover. because he used to frequent the restaurant every day, and this was before social media. So basically, he would come to the restaurant and then go on Power 105 and be like, I was late because I was at Fats again.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that.
You remember that?
I used to work for Ed Lover First Baby Mom.
My 16, really?
Oh,
So
yeah.
my 16-year-old, that's how he got his name. You always heard Earl Lover talking about chicken bone on the radio.
Yeah.
That's that's my son Cisco, who's 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So he actually gave us the jump start, like, to be successful. But people like Dipset, right? All of them used to come in the restaurant. Shout out to Run DMC, who, DMC, who's a brother to us as well, used to come to the restaurant. And when you have people like that before hip hop, right? I mean, excuse me, before the internet and stuff, what happens is, that's how my restaurant, so I was able to open my restaurant. Crazy. What a blessing. And then,
It was located in Harlem?
No, it was in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Teaneck, New Jersey.
They call
Okay.
it like the urban side of Teaneck, New Jersey, but Teaneck Road, and what happened was this, Teaneck had like this main thoroughfare to kind of racist, right? And I can tell you stories about that, but this main thoroughfare to go through the whole Teaneck. So we were on there, on that main road. It was called Fats Chicken and Rib Joint. 2000, 5, 6s.
That's
But
an
Bimmy,
area.
shout out to Bimmy. Bimmy and Joe used to come every single day, every single time. I think I was one of the first people that saw Joe's, he has the liquor bottle,
Right.
unveiled it at my store. Like, I just saw a lot of stuff. But grateful to those people who, people that, Eric Blam, who manages Run DMC, Big Queens. He's,
Queens.
family and my brother to this day, and for those relationships I can respect. So from there, I opened the restaurant, then, took some time off to take care of our mom who passed away. And then when I went back to school and got my master's degree. And then after that is when, the whole, teaching one class, then teaching, 2 classes, right? Teaching 3. And then about maybe 4 years ago, so the music industry again.
I was going to get in. I was about to ask you, not to cut you off.
Oh, I'm listening, sir.
All right. See how everything you did back then, right, was so legendary and iconic. And the phones wasn't out. And being now that we have the phones, all these stories are coming out now. You get what I'm saying? So we need you guys to come out again. So you can tell the story.
Right?
Yeah, you got it. Yeah,
right?
there's so much to tell. There's so much going on. There's new platforms.
Like,
So
I told
Every
the story.
day we doing something and working towards things. So it's definitely ground to cover.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like you about to say what I'm thinking. But go ahead.
No, say what you're thinking, sir.
Well, what I was saying is what you're about to say is, well, you 4 years, you took a break, now you're back in. Is it because of the things that happened then that's portraying now that people want to know now? What is it that made you get back into it?
Well, I think that I've always consulted, right? I've always consulted. I never stopped. And like, again, relationships are, are gold, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like at the end of the day, no one can tell my story like me. And I feel like even before COVID, like, I don't know how many documentaries or interviews or, Clubhouse or go live and tell your story or behind the records. And I'm just like, can nobody tell my story like I could tell my story, right? And like I'm telling you, you're a whole nother generation, and I know Fa for 6 years already, and he didn't know half this stuff, right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I just feel like, grateful that, I could still tell my story, but it really means something. But like I said, like you said before then, it was like, you don't know that this stuff is going to be legendary. You're just doing the work, right? And so what happened was, when I was at the Source, I told you that I, started to teach, and I was offered this job at Monroe College, full time. So I'm the administrator for the school, and I just feel like, from that perspective, a lot of the students I teach, they're not Harvard, they're like the Bronx, Queens, they're the
urban.
boroughs, they're my urban kids that I have an affinity for, that I love, and I want to see elevate to the next level. So do I love teaching? Oh my God, like, I'm the best there is, like, but I get that hustle from the music industry, right?
Yeah.
So there was a lady named Tara Mitchell. I always give her props, and I want you guys to record this so I can send this to her. But can you just record this? So Taryn Mitchell, she actually was a publicist at Def Jam back then. She left to go to law school, and now she is a I'm going to start over because I want this on video so I can send it to her. But Taryn Mitchell, she was a publicist she's the person that came up with the name How Can I Be Down. You guys know the famous How Can I Be Down?
Yeah.
She came up with that name. She named it.
Wow.
Right? And so what happened was she left Def Jam. She was a publicist. She left Def Jam. She went to law school, and now years later, she's a professor at Monroe. So our friend of ours, Darcel, who's our friend, my friend, our family. Darcel is the president of Irv Gotti's company, Visionary. Okay. I said, tell Taryn to get whatever. So she tells Taryn, I get this demo thanks to Taryn at Monroe College. One class, teaching a night class, and guess what? I was leaving IAR, and something happened with my car, and I was late my very first night.
Wow.
Taryn stayed after working all day and covered my class for me. Thank God I bodied it. It was social media marketing. I did amazing. Thank God. And then a year late, the dean at that time left, right? And shout out to Taryn. I love you. I give you your props at every interview I do. You're amazing. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be a full-time professor. Like,
right.
I'd probably be hustling still. But, work ethic is everything.
Yeah.
She got me in the door, and I'll give her all that, right? So I might be a full-time professor, but because of her, I got the experience. Does that make sense?
Yes,
so thank you for the opportunity. And she looked out for me and walked me in the door. And then after that, one class at Monroe turned into 2 classes. Then the original dean left. And the new dean, his name is Dr. Eshra, was like, I'm about to be dean. I'm about to pull you on. And it was people that's been working there for forever and was just like, you'll never be a full-time professor. Oh, the hip-hop professor, they've been there 17 years trying to get a full-time job. And what happened was he was just like, say less, gave me the full-time job. So in my office, there are 3 executive offices. There's the dean's office. There is the director of accounting office, and my office. That's it. Could you imagine that type of favor? So I am the administrator, and I'm basically have the leeway to kind of be creative, and I create a lot of programs. And so, like I was saying, I saw you with your spray ground bag on. I had David Ben David at Monroe right before COVID. Wow. And he bought bags to give away. My sister Malika does, marketing for him. Like, I'm just going to bring David and the crew up there. Say less. It was 400 people in the auditorium.
Wow.
But I interviewed, like you're interviewing me, I interviewed David Ben David on Monroe's campus, right? So that's the type of relationships I have to this minute. Wow. Right before COVID, on February, David is in my office, right? The CEO of Spray Ground. Do you understand my point? Yes. Walk in the walls. Like, I've had, like I said, we've been to Rock Nation. We've been to.
I'm not gonna tell you what he calls it.
What he calls it? The Mecca? What you call it?
Not the Mecca.
Hey, what you call it?
What you call it?
Rat Nation.
Rat Nation? Oh my God!
So we ain't gonna go there.
Let's not go there right now, right? I want to know.
Keep it positive.
But I always fight with him about that.
Oh my gosh!
I'm for Rock Nation. You see that?
We've been.
He rocks the hat every week.
He rocks the hat
different colors.
It depends. It's a few. I got more in the house. Look, listen. I'm not with him on that.
Got it. Let's leave. Let's go. We've been to Def Jam Records. So Jennifer Hirsch at Def Jam Records hosted us. They bought us breakfast. They gave us backpacks. 20 students. Right. We've been to Atlantic Records. The family there embraced us. Stayed the whole day.
And I'm sorry to cut you off. What's the reaction to how your students be?
Yeah,
they love me, B.
I know he's like, man, I love you forever.
Oh my God, forever and ever, right? So they love me, they love the experience, they love the opportunity. But what happens is you learn, right, that relationship. You can't help everybody, right? Yeah. So you can, for the people that, I shine, I'll put you in a room, right? Or I'll bring you, I brought, everyone there. And there's some people I realize, oh, your mother didn't teach you nothing? Say less. Kids don't have home training. So at the end of the day, what happens is, you want to expose and you want to give opportunity. And I started something called the Hip Hop Icon Project, and which means that, I outside of school, I give back. Some of it is like a social enterprise, where I can, but I give mentorship and opportunity for students. Right now, I'm working with. Can you stop and then start over again? So, because I want to send this little short as well. So, my friend Sydney, that is the senior vice president at of publicity at Atlantic, hooked me up one day randomly. He just literally called me, okay, I'm about to conference you with such and such. That's who he is, right?
Wow.
And come to find out, he conferenced me with this amazing man named Curtis, right? Curtis is actually the dopest man ever, right? But he works for icon actress Keke Palmer. Right? He works, he's the CEO of her nonprofit. So basically, Curtis and I are working on these projects. They have this amazing nonprofit 501(c)(3) called Saving Our Daughters. Okay. But Keke is the headliner, but they have every actress, actor, Hill Harper, everyone in the world. There's a little girl named Jasmine who won Top Chef. I just posted her the other day. She's on there. Every person, do you know the wife that was on do you know the wife and the husband that was on what is that Fox 5 show? That show that was on Fox 5. What is the beautiful girl's name? You know the show about the music industry?
Empire?
Empire. You know the lady Empire?
Yeah.
The who's married to the man?
I don't watch that show. I don't know.
Not Cookie. The
after that second episode, I was done. So.
No, it was a good show. But anyway, she's a part of it. There's so many people in Hollywood that's a part of this Saving Our Daughters.
Wow.
And we're working on programming thanks to Sydney relationship with Curtis from Saving Our Daughters, and you're going to be surprised at the amazing things we're going to do with students on every level. They are already in a lot of the New York City public schools, programming and, school to school. And I just want to, share my, relationships and put in my work and, be a part of it. And then, community service is a lot. I'm in my sorority, big shout out to Delta Sigma Theta. But that's been kind of like a lifelong, task for me, but it's newer in my life, and so many things to give back and to help kids win. So in terms of your question about my students, it's just, an amazing opportunity to be able to share these stories, but also you could tell a story every day, right? Yeah. Or I could make up a story or whatever, but when you have the opportunity to really put kids and people and family in rooms, that's when, people can tell stories every day, but you ain't me.
Yeah.
Right? People can tell stories every day, but you don't have the relationships that I have, baby.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end of the day, to have that opportunity to be able to connect dots for your generation and beyond, and try to set up some sort of, something for our kids, right? Yep. For our kids, and leave a legacy for them. That's what I live for. I would sacrifice. If my son he don't understand why I tell him to do everything, my 16-year-old, he'd be like, oh my God. But I said, one day you'll get it, right? I was like, oh, you got an interview tomorrow. Literally, he has an interview tomorrow. He's like, Dag, but one day you'll understand the purpose. I'll sacrifice an opportunity for me to give it to him.
That's great. Yep, that's great. I seen you you involved with Ray Ghost. Versus is coming up this weekend.
What Versus is coming up?
Versus is coming up. It's Ghostface and Raekwon.
Oh, Sydney?
I seen you with both of them.
You definitely see me with both of them. You definitely see me with both of them.
Who you got?
I can't say. I'm not gonna say. I'll say that. My love for Wu-Tang started at Def Jam, right? And Meth. And I love me some Wu-Tang. I will fight you for Wu-Tang, right? I love me some Wu-Tang to this day. And I feel like I love both of them. And so Sydney sent me an invite. I've been so crazy, right? Sydney sent me an invite for Versus, but I was just like, let me ask him tonight when I get home what the next Versus is, because I haven't seen it.
You should go.
Yeah, I was gonna go to the DMX Snoop, but I was teaching a full load during that time. But I think I'm gonna go. Right, legendary, crazy.
You got to feel that energy.
Yeah. Crazy. But so I can't say who I got. I think it's gonna be legendary, and I can't wait to see it. Now that you're telling me,
yeah, that would be dope.
That's crazy.
Gonna go to that.
That's crazy.
I think you would go to that. That would be dope. When it's on Triller and Swiss Beats and Tim,
love every one of them. People that are icons.
That's dope. And you're around all that, so that's dope. That's cool.
So before we get out, I wanted to see. I know you from Howard University. Is there anything you trying to do, or do you know of that's happening right now as far as the music or classes or some type of program, anything?
Thank you so much for bringing that up, and really, 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 really. So I want to tell a quick story, right? I've always had this same, I am who I am in the class, out the class, in the hood. I can go to the hood, right? So I'm always that person, but I'm always like, the person that gives opportunity out. I'm always the person that, you got this, let's go, let's get it. Because we were raised to treat the doorman like the president, period, right? And the story, the quick story is that big shout out to Julian Petty. And if you could stop it and start it again, because I'm going to give this man his flowers while he's living, right? So big shout out to Julian Petty. I'm gonna stop and start real quick, right? Yeah. If you guys don't mind.
And we do a segment like that too, where we give, we want to give people their roses because we got a mutual friend support me before my funeral, so we try to play off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. The same thing, and we do that on here, where we like to give people their roses, their flowers, while they couldn't help them. So this is you lead the way. This is your.
My God!
Right here.
Perfect.
This is a good one.
So about 10 years ago, right? I saw a post on Facebook, and basically it was like, my top 10 hip hop moments, and it was like when I interned for Jazz Young, I worked for Jazz Young, and she put me in the studio with Foxy Brown and Meth, right? Everybody has a Method Man story, right? A Meth or Red story. Shout out to Meth and or Red, right? And so I'm like, oh my God. And so I just, look and I see, and it's, Julian Petty. So Julian Petty, for those of us who are in or outside the music industry, if you don't know him, he's the, literally, no cap, the biggest attorney in the music industry. Like, there's not another that's hotter than him right now. So he at one point had worked for a company called Nixon Peabody, and now he is the head of Warner Music. Period. Look him up. He's the head of Warner Music. He's the head of Warner Music. And business affairs. Not just he's the man, but young. 40 years old. Young dude. So fast forward to. He's the nicest guy, remains solid with me. Every opportunity he gets, he gives me some sort of props or just shouts me out. He went to Fordham Law School. They honored him, and he, posted a picture on his IG and just gave me my flowers. And I was just like, the dopest dude, right? So we have, Slick Rick in common, but I told you we went to LA. He's walking us around LA like he's the man. And I didn't, he's the man. And so what happened was, after, I think I went to LA maybe 3 summers ago. So he announces that he's now this head of, Warner. But the dopest dude, humble, everyone's shouting me out for my birthday on IG, and he's just like, Diva, get off of social media. I just text you, and text me and really gave me a gift certificate for my birthday. Thank you so much, Julian, for Saks, because he knows me. What you like? You still like whatever, you know me, right? I get so basically knows what I love, and thank you so much. And not no $50 gift certificate either, so the moral of the story is that Julian, who's to whom much is given, much is required. And shout out to Julian. I'm gonna give you your crown, your roses, your everything right now. So he gets the I don't even know how to say it, the Slavnik family, but basically Warner Music to contribute to create a music business program at Howard University Law School that's launching in the fall.
That's big.
I'm going to say it again. Yeah, Julian Petty, the man, got the Warner Music Group to give a big endowment to our alma mater, Howard University, so that students students who are interested in the music industry can now be a part of that program. And they're working on the logistics now. But there was a huge press release that went out from the Howard University Communications Center. And thanks to Julian, he made sure that I am on that list of iconic Howard University alumni mentioned in the same breath as Puffy. So big shout out to Joy Brown, who's at Atlantic Records. Big shout out to my brother Sidney Margetson. Sidney, can you please get me on CNN and in Essence, please? But shout out to Julian Petty, who's a walking little baby king. Like, so amazing and so dope. And Julian, thank you for everything. Thank you for what you do for hip hop. Thank you for what you do for music. Thank you for what you do for me, because you keep my name lit, in this music industry. You help to do that, and I appreciate you, and I love you for it. And at the end of the day, I'm excited to see, what the fall will bring. And that's all I can say about that right now.
Right.
Yes!
That's a big news.
That's crazy. Shout out to Julian.
So, and look, before we go, I usually ask this question, but man, you accomplished so much. But I mean, I'm still ask this to everybody before they leave, and you can answer as well too. Where do you see yourself like in the next 5 years?
On our self-sustained community, or on vacation from that.
I like that.
Yeah, Airbnb, paintball, ATVs, all of that. Black-owned farm, food, everything. And weed is about to be legal.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So the same, we're partners, so we have the same similar dream.
Yes.
So 5 years, I don't want to, have to work for someone, right?
Yeah.
I'm grateful. Like I said, I go hard in whatever I do, and I brought that, music industry mentality to the education industry, and I'm very grateful for my experience. And it's like I can tell a story, but I'm credible. I have credentials. I have a real resume, and I'm grateful for that. But at the same time, like I want to travel. I want to be telling this story in Africa, right?
Yes.
I want to, share with students there. I want to make sure that, obviously I like speaking, right? And I can't speak, so I want to make sure that I continue to do that. Plus, our young enterprises, definitely, and making noise with that as well.
All right, cool. And you want to give out your socials or anything where they can find you?
Give out
Definitely. You can check me out at Instagram. We got a CraigO 718 _ lease to drive. We got all your cars, insurance. I'm the hookup. The hood love me. Ultimas, the Bentleys, whatever y'all need, and we're gonna do y'all right. Credit repair, low budget insurance. Education during the process. You're not just getting the vehicle insurance. You're getting a lesson.
And I on Instagram, I am Jazz Young, JAZZYOUNG, at the Hip Hop Professor, and second at the Hip Hop Professor. You can always find me there. DM me. I'm always available. But guys, I just want to take this opportunity to commend y'all.
Oh, man.
Like,
Thank you.
oh my God! Like,
We
thank you so
appreciate
much
you
for
guys.
having us. You guys are two young kings making it happen. And even though, like, I always like. I'm here for you, so I was like, when I leave, I'm gonna call such and such and make sure 5 shooting movies by the summer. Like, that's what it's about. But I commend you and thank you so much for having us. We'll come anytime. Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it, and you are doing an amazing thing.
Thank you.
And thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was an honor
I
having
do
you.
We
shoot videos for my car lot and
Yeah, we
so,
do commercials, all that, man.
We need
definitely
a
want-
cameraman
need
for the
all
Young
that.
Man
Definitely.
Stage
Anything.
project. That's gonna be.
We do. We were looking for one the other day. We
scenario.
needed some aerial views and stuff
we
like
need
that.
Okay,
a lot of
definitely.
stuff. So not only do we, we're gonna talk, we're gonna do business too, because it's
Definitely.
all
That's
about
what
the
it's about.
build and create. We'll take it from here.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it,
Appreciate
man.
having you on another classic episode.
Nobody
Episode
Puts On
66.
Nobody Put Us On episode 66. Again, shout out to Extreme Media. You can
Matt
find us on
Max, peace.
YouTube, SoundCloud, And everything else, man. We up out of here.
It's our first live, right?
It's the first YouTube
live. Shout out to the YouTube
Hey!
live. Shout out to you. Good.
Right.
We'll be back.
We out of here. Peace.